All right, so we're reading the Gospel of John, chapter 6. We're continuing on in our study. 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Okay. After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat? That's fine. Yes, that's fine. Just turn it down, please. And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. So Jesus says, What shall we do? But he already knew what he was going to do. Is that funny? Does Jesus have a sense of humor, or what is this? Is he testing him? Okay. He said to Philip, Whence shall we buy bread? That is actually kind of funny, that these may eat. And this he said to prove him, to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. I don't know why that's making me laugh right now, but God already knew. Okay. Philip answered him, Let's move this up here. Okay. 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him, There is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? Riley, please turn that down. It's a little bit too loud, okay? I don't really want to hear that in the background. I told you what I would like for you to do. Please listen. Down. Thank you. And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down. So the men sat down in number about 5,000. Now I've heard this. The men were counted. So there's 5,000 men, but I don't know if they counted the women and children. That would make the numbers quite a bit higher. So let's keep that in mind. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes, as much as they would. And they were filled. He said unto his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. That's so wild, man. Can you imagine just like never-ending bread? That's never-ending fishes, and then having all this left over. That's just so crazy. God does this. And he says, greater things will you do. If we just believed sometimes, like, God can do these things now through us. If we believe, it's crazy. Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets. Oh, I already read that. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, This is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain, himself alone. Into a mountain. Himself alone. He went in a mountain. That's interesting. And when even was now come, his disciples went down unto the sea, and entered into a ship, and went over the sea towards Capernaum. and it was now dark, and Jesus was not come to them. Okay, so Jesus is inside of a mountain alone, and the disciples are in a ship. Huh, did they take off without him? I wonder if he told them to. Interesting. I don't remember reading that before. That's why I love reading it, because you'll find something new every time. Okay, my book is sticking to the table. Okay, my goodness. Back this up a little bit. That helps. Okay. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Jesus walking on the sea and drawing nigh unto the ship. And they were afraid. Yeah, I would be afraid too if I saw some dude walking on the water, like towards me. That would be terrifying. But he saith unto them, It is I. Be not afraid. Sometimes God does like mighty, amazing things in our life that could be very terrifying if we don't understand that it's him, right? Let's have the faith to believe that he can do just wild, crazy, amazing things and not be afraid of that. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was on the land whither they went. Dang, that's crazy. I wonder what the time difference is on that. How much time did that save? Or it seems like it's pretty significant. That's just crazy. He can get you there. The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boats there, save that one whereinto his disciples were entered, and that Jesus went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone away alone. Howbeit there came other boats from Tiberias nigh unto the place where they did eat bread, after that the Lord had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum seeking for Jesus. They after him. They want some more loaves and fishes. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? Jesus answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me, not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. Yeah, they didn't even want miracles. They were just hungry. Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed. Dang. Then said they unto him, What shall we do that we might work the works of God? There you go, honey.
I wanted one.
Yeah, thank you. Giving them some snacks. What shall we do that we might work the works of God? Excuse me. Jesus answered and said unto them, This is the work of God, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent. The work. I've never put this together, and I don't know if this is just like my morning brain or if this is a download, right? Then they said unto him, What shall we do that we might work the works of God? The works. I think of 10 Commandments, right? The work. Jesus answered and said unto them, This is the work, that ye believe. This is profound for me, because God has been working with me about this belief, and that God is our Sabbath, right? A lot of people, I come from a background where there's a heavy pressure, right? That we still have to keep the 10 Commandments, and that Saturday is the Sabbath. And basically, if you don't go to church on Saturday, you're going to the HE double hockey sticks, which is funny because they don't even believe in what is said about hell. So it's a very works-based structure, right? That's not the truth that's found in this Bible. So this is just an amazing passage for me. I'm going to add that to my heart. This is the work of God, that ye believe on him who hath sent me. Now, when it talks about belief, when it talks about, when the Israelites were set free, they wandered in the desert because they didn't believe, and they were told that the ones who didn't believe were not allowed to enter the promised land. And I think it's in Revelation where it's talking about the Sabbath. They will not enter my rest. If you don't believe, you don't enter the rest. Just like in the wilderness, if you don't believe, you don't enter the promised land. And this work, we don't have to do work because it's a gift, and you can't work for a gift. Salvation, like you can't work to pay your ticket, like we talked about a few chapters back. Salvation is a gift. It is not something that we earn. We can't work. We can't keep the 10 Commandments, period, because if we could, why would we need Jesus? This is just all exploding for me right now, so this is amazing. My husband's sleeping because he wakes up really, really early, and so I'm definitely going to tell him about this when he wakes up. That'll be a fun conversation. Okay. Jesus answered them, this is the work of God, that ye believe. Our work is our belief. Oh, our work is our belief in Jesus. Believe on him who he hath sent. So him is Jesus. He is God the Father. So we believe on him. That is our work. I love this. Okay. Thank you, Lord. They said, therefore, unto him, what sign showest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What dost thou work? So they're asking for a sign. They want to see so that they can believe. Here's believe again. What dost thou work? They want to see works. They want to see works, when really work is just believing. There's nothing to see. It's just like inside of your brain, believe. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat. Now it's talking about the Israelites wandering in the desert, like I was just talking about up here. So cool. At least I know I'm on the right track. Then Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven. Yeah, it wasn't Moses. My Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. So this again, it's Jesus is the true bread.
Are you going to make us any pancakes?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can have that for right now, okay?
Okay. On your bag.
Yes. Go ahead. My Father giveth you the true bread, which is Jesus. Like, when he does his communion, right? The Last Supper. He's the bread that we have to eat. It's good. For the bread of God is he which, that's Jesus, he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world. He's here to give us life. We believe and we receive this life because we're dead in our sin. We are under the law of sin and death, which is talked about so many times. These works, the law is the law of sin and death. We believe on him and we receive his life. Then saith they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Oh, this is so good. But I said unto you that ye also have seen me, and believe not. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. If we come to him, he will not cast us out. So this has to do with salvation, right? If we come to him, he's not going to cast us out. So can you lose your salvation? I'm of the camp that no, because if we come to him, he won't cast us out. If we believe, for I came down from heaven, not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. So that's a whole nother topic, right? Like salvation, can you lose it? But that's just a thought. And this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that all of which he hath given me, I should lose nothing, but shall raise it up again at the last day. Man, it's been a while since I've read John. This is so good. All which he hath given me, I should lose nothing. So can you be lost once you're found, but should raise it up again at the last day? So we're going to get raised up at the last day because we come to him, we won't be cast out, he will lose none of us. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son, we see him and believeth on him, may have everlasting life. And I will raise him up at the last day. That's pretty profound. The Jews then murmured at him. Of course they did. Because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. Of course they murmured at him.
Mom, Dad.
Yeah, baby. Okay, Mama's reading. Let me finish my reading, okay? Ask your dad, okay, because Mama's reading.
Dad, please watch that
And they said,
movie.
Is not this Jesus the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I came down from heaven? Jesus therefore answered and said unto them, Murmur not among yourselves. Murmur. Emmett, honey, go in another room, babe. You keep talking and you're distracting me.
Go watch a movie.
43:1:6. 43:1. Stop grumbling. Grumbling.
Hey, Riley.
Or grumbling. Murmur, grumbling. Murmur not among yourselves. Okay, do not grumble amongst yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him. Right. This is so good, honey. We need to start doing a podcast because I like talking to you about this stuff. This is like so good right now. So you can't lose your salvation, man, because no man can come to Jesus except the Father which has sent him draw him. So the Father draws you to see Christ. You are given to him, and he loses nothing. Hold on, we'll do a podcast another time because I need to get this out. Jesus loses nothing that the Father gives him. He raises it up on the last day. Whoever sees the Son and believes on him will have everlasting life, and I will raise him up the last day. We are drawn to him by the Father, and it says, I will raise him up on the last day. So nobody can come to the Father except through Jesus, and nobody can come to Jesus except the Father draw him. It is good stuff. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of God. Every man therefore that hath heard and hath learned of the Father cometh unto me. Not that any man hath seen the Father, save he which is of God. He hath seen the Father. is of God. Okay, so 46, 1. 646, 1. From. Okay. Save he which is from God. So Jesus, he hath seen the Father. Yeah, so only Jesus has seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me hath everlasting life. So literally believing is our key here. Belief. Which over here, belief is the work. I am the bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is him talking to these murmurers, right? The Jews, the murmuring Jews. Your fathers did eat manna. They ate the bread in the desert, but they're dead. Man, that's harsh. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. This is the bread of life, right? Jesus says in the, what do they call that? The Last Supper, right? Where he talks about how he is the bread. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And that bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. Now, some people get freaked out like, oh, he's telling me to eat his flesh. It does kind of get a little weird. I have heard another person talking about this. When you make bread, and with wine also, which is two things that Jesus compares himself with in the Last Supper, right? That my body is broken and, you know, my blood is the wine if you eat and drink of it. This is obviously spiritual. But when you make bread, there's the dough. There's three parts to it, right? There's the flour, the sugar, and the yeast. And so the sugar is like sin, and the yeast is Jesus. So when you mix all that together, the yeast literally transforms that sugar, and it eats it all up until there's literally no sugar left. And it makes this like wonderful loaf of bread. And the same thing with wine. I don't know how to make wine. I'm sure it's a similar process. There's yeast and there's sugar. And the sugar eventually is completely transformed. So our sin nature, when we come to Christ, he completely transforms that and makes us a nice whole loaf of bread. Or like a nice glass of wine, whatever you want to use there. But I just thought this is reminding me of that. That's coming to my mind, so I share it. So let's keep going. The Jews therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us flesh, his flesh to eat? Right? It sounds gory. Then Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. That does sound so crazy. Let's let him explain this. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. I will raise him up at the last day. Okay. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. What is meat? 55:1. Food, okay. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. As the living Father hath sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eateth me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Well, I can understand why the heck they were murmuring and grumbling, because that does sound kind of like wild. It does make me think, though, of what the pagans used to do, right? They did all kinds of weird child sacrifice and drinking of blood. And, there's a lot of weird occult stuff that goes on. And even New Age stuff now, like blood magic. And, like, I think this kind of talk here, like, obviously it's spiritual, like, our soul, it says, like, the word of God. We were reading, I don't know if it was John, I've been reading John in Proverbs, but it talks about feeding yourself. The word is food. In John 1:1, the word is another name for Jesus. So we have to eat up his word. So, we know that, but when you read it, like, drink my blood, eat my flesh, it does sound kind of crazy. I don't even know what else to say other than that sounds crazy, but it's like in the spirit. So I get why people thought he was nuts. All right, I'm just going to keep going from there. Many of his disciples, when they heard this, said, "This is a hard saying. Who can hear it?" Yeah. When Jesus knew in himself that his disciples murmured, even his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, "Doth this offend you?" Like, yeah, Jesus, it does. This is a little crazy. What? "And if ye shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before, it is the Spirit that quickeneth," gives life, right? "Quickeneth the flesh, profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." Spirit, right? The words that I speak. So all this crazy talk about eating flesh and drinking blood, they are spirit and they are life. "But there are some of you that believe not." For Jesus knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. Here's this believe again, right? Like, belief is our work. I don't know if you can see it back over there. It's work. This is the work of God, that you believe. And then it talks about, we can only come to him if the Father draws us, and that when we believe on him, we have everlasting life and he raises us up the last day. So Jesus knows who is it who actually believed. And he said, "Therefore said I unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto me of my Father." He's just jumping right back to where my brain was going. "From that time, many of disciples went back, and walked no more with him." Now, these were his disciples. These were people who, like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, nowadays, maybe we can compare it to, oh, yeah, I'm totally a Christian. I'm totally a disciple. But they went back. They walked no more with him. So did they ever believe? Were they ever actually called from the Father? Right. "He that believeth," they didn't believeth because they heard a hard saying, right? They heard this weirdness and they were like, yeah, no, we don't believe in that. Instead of saying, "Lord, what do you mean by that?" Like, yeah, it's a hard saying. What do you mean by that? And stick with that instead of walking away. "Then said Jesus unto the 12, Will ye also go away?" Because sometimes you got to root people out, man. Like, anyways. "Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life." So even though maybe Peter was like, yeah, it's a little weird, we'll figure it out. "And he believed, and we believed, and are sure that thou art the Christ." So here he is with believe and sure that thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Is this where he calls him the rock? I don't think he does that yet. Jesus answered him, have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil. Woo! Because over here, right, he weeded out a bunch of people. All, saying some hard stuff. He weeded out a bunch of them, but still there's one. Still there's one he knows is a devil. He spake of Judas. We all know Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. For he is what that should betray him, being one of the 12. All right, we'll end it there.